Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan said that the country may start a new military operation in Syria at any moment. He cited that he had the support of US President Donald Trump, even though the Pentagon had issued a warning to Turkey. He said Trump was more receptive of his plans than the US Defense Department. Last week, the Pentagon said unilateral military action by any party in northeast Syria would be unacceptable. This was applicable to areas where US forces operate. The standoff between President Donald Trump and Congress over the US-Mexico border continues. The two have 5 days to reach a deal. There has to be an agreement before a partial shutdown of federal government impacts the workforce. Trump demanded a $5 billion down payment to build a huge wall. He has said that was the only way to keep illegal migrants away from the U.S. However, Democrats and some Republicans have argued that they are less costly and more effective border control. France has agreed to a new military framework with Burkina Faso. This framework would speed engagement of its forces to fight Islamist militants in a northern border region of Burkina. The arid Sahel region is suffering violence from militant groups linked to the Al-Qaeda and Islamic State. A French President, Emmanuel Macron, said there will be no extra involvement of troops on the French side. He also said that Paris was ready to send more trainers and military advisors with extra equipment. The two sides have signed an agreement defining the legal framework for security cooperation. Representatives of the Yellow Vest protest in France called upon all the protesters they were seeking support in order to put together a list of volunteers to run in the upcoming European elections. A coordinator of the Yellow Vest movement said that the structure they were setting up is not a political party. They held their first meeting and said that they were yet to designate candidates. The representatives said that they were listening to people's demands and putting together something for these demands. French Interior Minister has said 8 people had died as a result of the Yellow Vest protest. The protests have been going on for over a month. He has said and called on protesters to stop occupying roundabouts around the country. He said that the actions have cost too many lives. All deaths were due to traffic accidents around the blockades. Castaner also said that the French authorities will continue evacuating roundabouts in the coming days. British opposition leader Jeremy Corbyn tabled a motion of no confidence in May. Corbyn's motion called on British parliamentarians to declare no confidence in the Prime Minister due to her failure to allow the House of Commons to have a meaningful vote straight away. The no confidence motion focused on Theresa May personally rather than the government. This comes after May said that the British legislators would not vote on her Brexit deal until the second week of January. Four jailed Catalan separatist leaders sent letters to more than 40 European heads. They are on a hunger strike and are protesting mistreatment by the Spanish courts. The Catalan leaders wrote that the fundamental rights were being violated. They accused that the Spanish courts were delaying their hearings in order to prevent them from appealing at the European level. A total of 9 Catalan leaders are in jail. They are awaiting trial for their role in the region's failed bid to split from Spain last year. The New York governor wants to legalize marijuana for recreational purposes. He said that this will be one of his top legislative priorities next year. The governor said that legalizing marijuana would contribute to a fairer justice system. According to a report commissioned by the governor, the move could bring in more than $1.3 billion in the annual tax revenue. Now, the added revenue could help address a number of needs. It could also help New York City's troubled subway system, which is in need of major repairs and upgrades. The Australian Chancellor and the Egyptian President discussed cross-Mediterranean migration. Australian Chancellor Sebastian Kurz pressed for the stronger cooperation to prevent illegal crossing attempts by migrants. Kurz praised Egypt's efforts to prevent boats from leaving He said that the number of arrivals in Italy had dropped to none in recent weeks. The Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi said that Egypt was securing its Mediterranean coast and stopping refugee vessels from departing. About 2,000 Hungarians protested at the state television building. They were demanding independent public media and courts. They were shouting slogans criticizing Prime Minister Viktor Orban's party. They held up banners like "TV has lost its public television character." They said that the public TV had become a government mouthpiece. Earlier, security guards ejected 2 independent lawmakers from the building. The 2 men were trying to get into a studio to read out a petition against Orban's regime.
Csak csináljátok tovább azt, amit itt elkezdtetek, mert csodálatosak vagytok. Gyertek vissza minden nap, mi is ugyanígy fogunk.
Police officers and protesters clashed in Bolivia. This after a group of transportation workers blocked a road in Santa Cruz by burning tires. The protests broke out after the city's municipal government unveiled a plan to restrict some traffic close to city markets. 7 protesters were arrested. Police fired tear gas canisters at protesters. The wives of 4 of China's prominent rights lawyers and activists shaved their heads. They were protesting over what they call the persecution of their husbands by the government. The women placed their hair in see-through plastic boxes alongside pictures of them with their husbands, after which they went to China's Supreme People's Court to petition over the manner in which their husbands' cases were being handled. Chinese President Xi Jinping has overseen a crackdown on hundreds of lawyers and activists since he came to power in 2012. Brazil firefighters said that the fire at a large refinery near Rio de Janeiro had been brought under control. They said that the fire began when a tanker truck at the refinery exploded. The flames destroyed 6 other tankers. No fatalities or injuries have been reported. The fire was controlled within hours. It did not reach storage tanks. Residents living in the neighborhood vacated their houses, fearing that the fire would spread. The black smoke led to the closing down of some of the main highways. A government hospital caught fire in India's financial capital. At least 6 people have died. In the fire, over 145 were rescued. The fire broke out on the 4th floor of the ESIC hospital. Mumbai's Mayor Vishwanath Mahadeshwar said that the cause of the fire was not immediately known. He said that it would be investigated. 1 fireman was injured during the operation. The Brazilian faith healer, who was accused of sexual abuse by more than 300 women, turned himself in. This came a day after he was officially ruled as a fugitive. Now, João Faria said that he was turning himself into divine justice and on earth just the way he promised. An arrest warrant had been issued against him on Friday to surrender. However, he failed to report on time. The 76-year-old healer could face charges of rape with a prison sentence of 10 years if convicted. Nissan said it was establishing an advisory committee to propose replacement of former chairman Carlos Ghosn. The company had sacked Ghosn over the alleged financial misconduct. The company also plans to set up a special committee for improving governance. The CEO of Nissan, Hiroto Saikawa, said that he did not have a deadline to name Ghosn's successor. He also brushed off calling a shareholder meeting in the near future. Ghosn had been arrested on November 19 by Japanese authorities. He was officially charged in a Tokyo court last week. He remains in detention. Israeli engineers loaded the final component onto a spacecraft which is destined for the moon. The spacecraft is a digital time capsule. It is aimed to land between the landing sites of Apollo 15 and 17 next year. This will be the first mission of its kind since 2013. The craft is shaped like a round table with 4 carbon fiber legs. It will be blasted off from Florida on a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket. If Israel's mission is successful, it will be the 4th country to carry out a controlled soft landing of an unmanned spacecraft on the moon. Norwegian Navy divers were preparing to lift a sunken frigate. The frigate sank in early November during a major NATO military exercise. The divers were filming the wreck of the frigate. They had already taken out its hard disks for investigation and removed its missiles. They also removed the weapons and fuel. A ship will be lifted on December 25th. About 8 crew members were injured when the ship collided with an oil tanker and sank. Google is investigating more than $1 billion on a new campus in New York. It will be known as the Google Hudson Square. The 1.7 million square foot campus will include leased properties at Hudson Street and Washington Street. Google will move into the building in 2020. It plans to double its New York headcount to 14,000 in the next 10 years. Google's first new New York office at 111 8th Avenue is one of the city's largest buildings. Google will be becoming the second major tech company after Amazon to pick America's financial capital to create jobs. Thousands paid a tribute to Saint Lazarus at Cuba's national sanctuary. Saint Lazarus is a Catholic who doubles as a powerful deity in the Afro-Cuban faith. The devotees carried flowers and crawled on their back. They pushed their feet to propel themselves up the steps of the sanctuary. A devotee said that her devotion to Saint was due to the life of her 2 babies. The Saint Lazarus pilgrimage is one of the most important religious events on the island. An elephant seal made a rare appearance at a beach in Auckland. Onlookers uploaded videos on social media which showed the seal resting on the beach. The seal was seen stretching and yawning. The onlookers were asked to maintain a distance from the animal. According to the conservation rangers, the seal was a female who weighed just under 1 ton. Residents of Bogota can see Santa on an illuminated Christmas train that passes through the city. The lit-up locomotive has made use of travel infrastructure that has been out of use for more than 3 decades. The train is 400 meters long and is comprised of 14 cars. It can carry 600 tourists at a time. Santa Claus visits passengers as the train chugs along. Santa hands out gifts to the children. Many pose for photos with the train traveling Santa. Paris's Grand Palace hosts the biggest indoor and skating rink of the world. The rink has been made with about 3,000 square meters of ice. It is the 4th edition of the rink. A 7 meters high polar bear sculpture stands at the center of the ice rink. It has been created by an artist named Richard Orlinsky. Around 3,000 pairs of ice skates are available for visitors. There is a separate reserved space for children. A DJ transforms the place into a dance floor in the night.